So let's jump right in. Picture this. You're just about to go into this big meeting with some German colleagues, right? Maybe to like finalize a deal or something. And all of a sudden, breaking news, Germany's government has collapsed.
Wow.
So I bet you're thinking, okay, what does this have to do with me?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, to figure that out, we've got this exclusive interview with a top German economist, Tom Krebs. And this guy's got serious credentials. He's advised the IMF, World Bank, even the U.S. Federal Reserve.
Wow, that's quite the resume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But get this. Krebs straight up calls the former finance minister's policies an economic farce.
Oh, really?
So yeah, we're going to break down why this German political drama actually matters to you.
I'm interested to hear this.
Yeah, so first, can you kind of set the stage? Like, what exactly went down in Germany?
Sure. So basically, Germany's Chancellor Olaf Scholz, he kind of just fired his own finance minister,
Oh, wow.
Christian Lindner, and that pretty much ended the traffic light coalition.
Traffic light coalition.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a nickname for the government because of the colors of the three parties involved.
Okay, got it.
So you've got the Social Democratic Party, that's Scholz's party, represented by red.
Okay.
Then the Free Democratic Party, that's Lindner's party, the yellow light, and of course, the Greens,
Makes sense.
the green light.
So it's a huge political shakeup, but to really get why it matters, we need to understand what caused this coalition to fall apart.
Right.
So tell me more about this Tom Krebs guy. Like, what's his perspective on all this?
Well, he offers a really interesting viewpoint because not only is he like this respected macroeconomics professor,
Right.
but he actually worked within the German finance ministry
Oh, wow.
under Scholz back in 2019.
No kidding.
So when he criticizes Lindner and the FDP, it carries a lot of weight
Yeah, I bet.
because he's not just some outsider. He's been on the inside.
Right. He knows how the government actually works.
Exactly.
Now, the FDP Lindner's party, they're known as the market liberals, right? So basically, they're all about free markets, less government spending, and fewer regulations.
Yeah, like a classic hands-off approach to economics.
Exactly. But Krebs is saying that this kind of thinking, it's like stuck in the 1980s and just doesn't work in today's world. So what's his argument exactly?
He believes that with all the global issues we face these days, climate change, rising inequality,
Yeah.
governments have to take a more active role.
Okay.
He's saying just cutting taxes and slashing subsidies isn't enough anymore.
Interesting.
But that's exactly what Lindner was pushing for,
Yeah.
trying to bring back those classic market liberal policies.
So you have this clash of economic visions, and that's a big reason why the government collapsed.
Exactly.
And this is where it gets really interesting for anyone who does business with Germany.
Right.
This isn't just some internal political fight. This is about how much the government should be involved in the economy. And if even the FDP, a traditionally pro-market party, is having trouble making their case, it seems like things are changing.
It could signal a shift in the economic landscape.
Yeah, for sure. But there is one issue that really seemed to divide Lindner from the rest of the coalition.
Oh, yeah.
The Schuldenbremse, or debt brake.
Right, the Schuldenbremse.
Can you explain that a bit?
So it's this rule written into the German constitution
Okay.
that basically limits how much the government can borrow every year.
So it's kind of like a national budget rule to keep spending under control.
Exactly. And Lindner insisted on sticking to it no matter what.
He was really adamant about it, huh?
Oh, yeah, he said changing it would be totally irresponsible.
But I'm guessing Krebs sees things differently.
Of course he does.
So what's his take?
Well, he points out that the Constitution actually allows for exceptions to the Schuldenbremse
Really?
in emergency situations,
Okay.
like during a pandemic or a major energy crisis.
You know exactly the kinds of problems Germany's facing right now.
Exactly.
So basically, Lindner was using this strict interpretation of the debt brake to block any spending that he didn't agree with.
It seems that way.
But what was the other side pushing for?
Well, the Green Party's economy minister, Robert Habeck, he wanted the government to invest more, especially in green technology.
Ah, so that's the other side of the coin.
Yeah, Lindner wanted to cut back, and Habeck wanted more government-led investment to drive innovation and tackle climate change.
That's a huge difference.
It is, and it really highlights the two competing economic visions at play here.
And I'm sure our listeners are wondering how these different approaches could affect their own businesses or investments.
Definitely to understand that we need to look closer at Habeck's ideas and how they might have played out in reality.
And that's exactly what we'll do in part 2 of this deep dive.
Sounds good.
Stick around.
I'm ready when you are. So yeah, Habeck's vision was all about the government being more involved in the economy,
Okay.
especially when it comes to green technologies,
Like what kinds of things?
like investing in renewable energy infrastructure, supporting the development of electric vehicles, promoting sustainable agriculture.
So basically things that could help Germany become a leader in green tech.
Exactly.
And that's where I think it gets interesting for our listeners.
Yeah.
Imagine if Germany under Habeck's leadership actually became like the global center for green tech innovation. I mean, think about the opportunities that would create for businesses and investors.
Right, like new partnerships, access to cutting-edge technology.
Exactly. So it's definitely something to keep in mind as we watch how all this plays out.
It's definitely worth considering.
Yeah.
And to understand Habeck's approach, you got to understand the guy himself.
Oh, yeah.
He's known for being a real pragmatist,
Okay.
someone who's willing to compromise and find common ground.
So like a team player.
Yeah, definitely. And he's also a really good communicator.
Oh, really?
He can connect with people on an emotional level.
Yeah.
And inspire them to embrace change.
That's a pretty valuable skill in politics.
It is for sure. And it's
Right.
pretty stark contrast to Lindner's approach, which was much more rigid and ideologically driven,
Yeah, I can see how those personalities would clash.
especially in a coalition government where compromise is so important.
Exactly. But personality differences aside, let's get back to Krebs and what he thinks happens next.
Okay.
What's his take on Germany's future?
Well, he thinks the government should still present a budget for 2025.
Even though the coalition has collapsed
Even though it's probably not going to pass, he thinks it would force the opposition to show their cards.
and spark a debate about the country's economic future,
Exactly. It's like a last chance for them to lay out their vision.
even if it's mostly symbolic at this point.
Right. But I bet the opposition is going to try to use all this chaos to their advantage.
Yeah, especially the conservative union bloc.
Oh, they'll definitely try to paint the current government as incompetent and out of touch.
And with all the problems Germany's facing right now,
The energy crisis, inflation,
Right.
the war in Ukraine.
it's not going to be easy for them.
No, it won't. And speaking of tough situations, remember that comment Krebs made about Christian Lindner?
The one about going on vacation?
Yeah, he said Lindner will have plenty of time to go on vacation as an ex-minister.
Oh, that's pretty harsh.
It is, and I think it reflects a feeling in Germany that Lindner might have overplayed his hand.
So is this the end of his political career?
It's hard to say for sure. He's a smart politician and could make a comeback.
Sure.
But this whole thing has definitely hurt his reputation.
Yeah, for sure. And it brings up a really important question for anyone doing business with Germany.
Yeah.
How is all this political turmoil going to affect their industry or investments?
It's a valid question.
Yeah.
And beyond the immediate impact, this situation highlights a much bigger trend happening globally.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
I think we're seeing a shift away from this idea of free market fundamentalism.
Towards a more active role for government in the economy.
Exactly.
It's like the whole free market versus government debate is getting a makeover.
Yeah, totally. It's not so black and white anymore.
Right. So if even Germany, this like super pro-market country, is starting to question their approach, what does that mean for the global economy as a whole?
I think it's a sign that things are changing. You know, the old idea that the government should just stay out of it and let the markets figure everything out.
Right.
It's being challenged from all sides.
Yeah, and that's going to create a ton of uncertainty for businesses and investors.
For sure. Like, how do you navigate a world where the rules are constantly changing?
Right, exactly.
Well, I think the key is to stay informed, like what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Trying to understand the bigger picture.
So we started with this breaking news story about Germany's government collapsing, and now we're talking about the future of capitalism.
Exactly. It's like we took this one data point and it led us to all these fascinating connections.
So what's the big takeaway for our listeners?
I'd say the most important thing is to realize that things are just more complex now.
Right.
This old idea of free markets versus government, it just doesn't apply anymore.
So governments are going to be more involved in the economy, whether it's through investments or regulations or industrial policy.
Right. And that means businesses and investors need to be adaptable.
They have to be able to anticipate these shifts and respond to them.
The winners in this new landscape will be the ones who can embrace change.
Yeah.
You know, see opportunity where others just see uncertainty.
It's like the whole world is a giant game of chess now.
Kind of, yeah.
So to wrap things up, let's leave our listeners with one final thought.
Okay.
If Germany, the economic powerhouse of Europe, is rethinking its approach to capitalism, what does that mean for everyone else?
It's definitely something to think about as you navigate this ever-changing global landscape.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.